Ontario, the second largest province in Canada, possesses about a third of that country's population and owes its colonization partly to loyalists who came from the United States after the War of Independence. Although less than one-third of the province is used as agricultural land, Ontario is nevertheless the most important part of the Dominion of Canada in value of agricultural products. At St. Thomas in southern Ontario, we visit a fine example of a Canadian farm owned by the Honorable Mitchell Hepburn, who was Premier of the province at the time of our visit. Incidentally, the annual gross value of Ontario's farm production is about $370 million, or approximately a third of the total revenue received for farm products in the entire Dominion of Canada. In addition to his responsibilities in administering affairs of state, Premier Hepburn, or Mitch as he is known to his friends, personally manages to supervise the chores of this farm, and his crops are of the prize-winning variety. Here is a bumper crop of wheat, typical of the best that is grown in Canada. The source of life in any land is food, and the manner in which it is produced and distributed determines the success or failure of that land. This simple truth is Mitchell Hepburn's creed, and nothing thrills him more than the sight of his farm wagons coming in from the fields, loaded with grain, the golden manna of life. Most of the farm buildings in southern Ontario are modern in every detail, and the equipment used is on a par with the best that the world has to offer. While it is true that the cultivating, reaping, and threshing of grain represents a major activity, no small amount of Ontario's revenue comes from dairy products, having an annual value of about $85 million. In addition to its agricultural resources, Ontario is blessed with thriving and up-to-date cities, such as Toronto, the largest in the province, with a population of about 850,000 inhabitants. Situated as it is on Lake Ontario, almost midway between New York and Chicago, this metropolis has become a popular convention city, thereby justifying its Indian name, Toronto, which means a place of meeting. In order to regain our bearings, let us refer again to the map of this region, as it helps to illustrate an interesting historical fact. After the War of 1812, Royal British Engineers built a canal from Ottawa to the connecting waters of Lake Ontario, thereby making it possible for gunboats to sail from the St. Lawrence by way of the Ottawa River and the aforesaid canal into Lake Ontario without passing the international passage at Cornwall, where they could be attacked by guns on the American shore of the St. Lawrence. In Ottawa today, that canal is figuratively the main street of the city. And although it was never needed for war purposes, it is a silent reminder of the tension which once existed between two neighbors who have since become inseparable friends. In modern times, the Rideau Canal, as it is called, has little or no military value, but it does add picturesqueness to the City of Ottawa, and it affords an excellent medium of transportation for lighter craft, using the canal for pleasure and sightseeing. It took 5 years to complete the Rideau Canal, and as the headquarters were at the Ottawa River end, a settlement gradually grew up there to house and feed the little army engaged in building the canal. The original settlement was known as Bytown, in honor of Colonel John By, who supervised the building of the canal, and in 1854, the name was changed to Ottawa. And so it has come to pass that the Rideau Canal, which was built under the advice of the Duke of Wellington for military purposes, is now a peaceful waterway, and its connecting stream, the Ottawa River, into which we now sail, has become a colorful setting for aquatic sports. The climate of Ottawa lends itself to outdoor sports, and in summertime, swimming and boat racing are the most popular. These so-called dugout canoes are a modernized version of the ones that were formerly used by the Indians and white traders in navigating the rivers of Ontario. Oddly enough, they also resemble the war canoes that were used by the native Hawaiians in the days of the great King Kamehameha. Aside from boat racing, the Ottawa River affords an excellent medium of transportation for boats plying the navigable portion of its 780-mile course. It also forms a boundary line between the provinces of Ontario and Quebec, and its Indian name, Ottawa, means to trade. Overlooking the Ottawa River stands the monument of Queen Victoria, who was responsible for choosing Ottawa as the capital city and the seat of government for the Dominion of Canada. The Chateau Laurier is one of Canada's many fine hotels, and it takes its name from the famous Canadian statesman, Sir Wilfrid Laurier, who was the first French-Canadian Prime Minister and who advocated unrestricted reciprocity with the United States. The roof of the chateau affords an excellent position for a panorama of the heart of Ottawa, extending from the War Memorial to the world-famous Houses of Parliament. Ottawa, capital city of all Canada, is the seat of government for the Dominion's provinces and territories, and its government buildings are listed among the finest Gothic structures in the world. These famous buildings are a fitting tribute to the development of Canada from a vast wilderness into a modern and progressive Dominion, with a future that is filled with the promise of even greater things. The original main building was destroyed by fire in 1916, and a few years later, this magnificent structure rose in its place. Rising high above all of the Parliament buildings is the Peace Tower, the cornerstone of which was dedicated by the Prince of Wales in 1919. Inside the tower, there is a sacred sanctuary containing Canada's Book of Remembrance, in which are inscribed the names of all Canadian soldiers who gave their lives in the First World War. The tower also contains a huge carillon, which peals its mighty notes out over the city of Ottawa, as if to remind the inhabitants of their duty to those whose names have been immortalized in that Book of Remembrance.